Tornado confirmed. What can now officially be referred to as a tornado has two major touchdown points. Extensive damage. LaSalle takes the first hit, and perhaps the hardest. And wired for Java. Could genetics determine how much coffee you drink?
CTV News with Jim Crichton.
Good evening. It's been an incredible 24 hours in Windsor, Essex. As we first reported here last evening, a powerful storm ripped through the region. We can now tell you it's a confirmed tornado. In fact, the damage assessment from Environment Canada damage assessment team has just released preliminary data suggesting not one but two tornadoes touched down, at least an F1 in LaSalle and at least an F2 in Windsor. Now let's take a look at the areas where the tornadoes did the most damage. In LaSalle, along EC Row between Walker Road and Central Avenue, even some damage along Lausanne Parkway. We have full team coverage tonight of the twister and the damage left behind. As we begin in Windsor, where we're joined by CTV's Michelle Molesky.
Well, Jim, we're on Diesel Drive right now today, and as you can see, the cleanup is well underway. Right now, there are hydro trucks from Essex Power Lines as well as Integris Power out of Chatham assisting Enwin Utilities with getting hydro poles back up along this street so they can restore power over here. Enwin officials say, however, at its peak, 7,000 customers on Enwin were without power. They've greatly reduced that number at this point. Now, it did damage many homes, including about 15 on this small, little, quiet street. Incredibly, however, no one was seriously hurt. 3 people reporting minor injuries. But there is, as you can see, a lot of damage left over by this tornado. It came from out of nowhere.
It's a tornado! Rachel, what do we do?
And left just as quickly.
The rain was coming straight down, then all of a sudden it went sideways.
We got a potentially dangerous weather situation.
The tornado ripped through LaSalle and then Windsor just after 7 Wednesday night.
The lines were falling and arcing, and then I didn't know what to do because when I ran to the other part of the house, the lines were falling, but that's because the trees were all falling on the side of the house.
The house shook. You said it was like a foghorn just going off, just wham, and then that was it. She came out and it's a devastation.
I was panicking, thinking this is going right for my home, and my kids are at home alone.
Everything started hitting us.
As Deborah Andrikonis surveys what's left of her backyard, she still can't believe she only has one small scrape on her arm. Her home, however, is heavily damaged.
There's wood impaled in the back of my house. Something went flying through one of my windows and broke right through the window. Trees are all gone and back. Everything's gone.
Including power. Enwin Utilities officials say 6,800 customers lost power when the storm ripped through. Crews have been working around the clock ever since, trying to fix the wreckage.
A lot of the poles were just snapped in half, and there's, as you can see, metal hanging from a lot of the wires, so there's a lot of issues that have to be dealt with.
Enwin hopes to get all residential customers back online by midnight, but the mayor says there are about 8 businesses that could be waiting much longer. Businesses like Cowtex on Diesel Drive, the other part of the city in the tornado's path. Look at this aerial video of the Rhodes Drive Industrial Park. Whole warehouse roofs ripped off or peeled back, steel thrown across the yard like it was paper.
They're hoping to get that down to about 8 businesses that they can't really do anything with, like Cowtex, because the damage is so severe.
With the storm behind them, residents set to the arduous task of cleaning up.
I've been here 27 years, and I'll never be able to afford a cottage, so I kind of made my house to be my cottage. My house is precious to me.
But we will we'll put everything back together, and it'll be as beautiful as it ever was.
And as the cleanup continues, a reminder from the city of Windsor, they are responsible for clearing away only trees that were on the city's right-of-way when the tree was still standing. If that tree was on your property, it's your responsibility to get a crew in to clear it away. Also, the WDS property in Windsor, not far from here, was also heavily damaged by the storm. They also lost power. As a result, garbage and recycling collection has been postponed by 1 day out in the county. We're told it will resume tomorrow. Jim, just to reiterate, Environment Canada initially now saying that it was at least an F1 tornado that landed in LaSalle and at least an F2 that landed here in Windsor.
The light of day showing us remarkable damage, particularly in that industrial park. All right, Michelle Molesky begins our coverage tonight. Now, parts of LaSalle also witnessed extensive damage in last evening's tornado. Witnesses telling of seeing the storm rip through sections of Victory Street, as well as parts of Jolly Avenue, along with Island View Marina. Melissa Nakavali has returned from LaSalle and joins us now with more on this damaging storm.
Well, Jim, what a difference a few hours can make. Officials in LaSalle have been working around the clock, cleaning up areas I walked through after the tornado hit last night. And while officials are calling the damage extensive, many say it could have been much worse. This video shows the moment the tornado touched down in LaSalle.
If there was a time in my life where I was going to be scared, that would have been the time.
Leaving this site in its tracks. Debris, tree limbs, and people's belongings scattered everywhere.
It was the scariest thing I've ever been through in my whole life.
Due to winds so strong, they even blew the roof off a couple of houses. A shock for this resident who witnessed his home being ripped to shreds.
Tornadoes come in through here, wiped out the house. We didn't have much time to think about it. They wiped out the house completely.
Many say time was of the essence. Some residents say they didn't have time to take cover as they scrambled to find shelter.
That is absolutely a tornado.
Witnesses describe the tornado's speed as being so fast that if you blinked, you wouldn't have known what hit you.
It was something that out of a movie, and people walking around sort of in shock.
Town officials say power was shut down as a precaution, with crews working diligently throughout the night. LaSalle Mayor Ken Antea says they managed to open the roads and restore power by around midnight.
We're happy that all of the precautions that we take for such an event has been adhered to, and everybody seems to have carried out their job as planned.
Still, cleanup efforts continue today. Antea says town officials are making themselves available to help with the aftermath.
We're assisting the individual property owners with assessing the damage on their property.
I don't know where half our stuff is. It's just a disaster area.
While the tornado could have been much worse, many residents say it's time to put this disaster behind them as many look to rebuild their communities. And how long that rebuild will take is another question. Mayor Antea suspects the cleanup will continue for many more days. At least 2 families have not been able to return home, and many more homes sustained tornado damage. The town is also making its resources available, and public works staff will clear away branches and trees if residents require more support. Jim.
I remember you dropping what you were doing and being called out last night when we realized the full extent of this. Melissa Nakavali joining us tonight. Melissa, thank you. Now, the day after, here's a look at satellite radar of Windsor, Essex as the tornado moved into the region. You'll see here how massive the storm system is. The area in red signifies the tornado as it comes inland from the Detroit River, where it whipped up. As soon as it hits the town of LaSalle, the tornado appears to grow in size. Environment Canada says a second twister touches down near EC Row Expressway between Walker Road and Central Avenue, where most of the significant damage happened. You may also notice here flashes of gray. We're told those are lightning strikes. An assessment team from Environment Canada and the University of Western Ontario quickly surveyed the damage in both the city and in LaSalle this afternoon. A preliminary look. Team leader Mitch Meredith telling CTV News they're still working on finding out just how rapidly this tornado developed and hit our region.
We're looking at damage to structures and property, and we are going to be doing rating of the damage to see if we can understand what the peak wind speeds were with the storm, and also to understand the timing.
And this is the water cooler talk the day after. Would a public warning system have worked during these 2 devastating tornadoes? A question many residents are now asking tonight. Our Sasha Long joins us to discuss the topic.
Well, Jim, anywhere you go today, residents in LaSalle and Windsor are talking about the need for a system that would warn them about tornadoes and other severe weather. Both community leaders say the idea is worth looking into.
The tornado moved into the region quickly, and for many residents, there was no warning severe weather was imminent.
It came and went pretty quick, and the Weather Network was good enough to put the warning on right after it had gone by. So timing is everything.
The damage widespread, but already discussion has turned to the lack of a citywide tornado warning system.
We had no warning, and I know there's been some comments on social media. People have sent me messages saying, you know, we should have a tornado emergency warning system. Drew, why don't we have this in the city of Windsor?
Environment Canada issued a tornado warning at 7:29 p.m., but the warning came out after the twister had already touched down. Still, Windsor Mayor Drew Dilkens says no warning system would have worked in this case.
They had no idea that this was going to happen, so there would have been no way, even if we had that system, to let the residents know, because there was no message coming from Environment Canada.
And that's a concern to LaSalle Mayor Ken Antea.
In the event that we have more time in the future, we want to make sure that our residents are aware.
Similar words from Essex NDP MP Tracy Ramsey. In a statement, Ramsey said, "Although I am happy that no one was seriously injured, I am concerned for the safety of the people in my region and want to ensure the government does all it can to prepare people for emergencies." Antea says he feels lucky that no serious injuries occurred, but he says this reiterates the need for a better warning system countywide.
The county emergency plan incorporates something that can be provided in all county municipalities. So we'll probably take a look at enhancing that somewhere.
Dilkens says the city has been working on a proposal for a storm notification system, and it will be presented during 2017 budget deliberations.
It's right for us to have the conversation and figure out if there is a system that we can employ that would allow us to give advance warning, and maybe not just for weather events, but for other events that are happening in the city that residents need to know about.
Again, Dilkens says this issue will be discussed at budget time. He says the city has already had conversations with the fire chief, and he admits this type of weather event reinforces the need and the benefit for some sort of weather warning system.
I'm sure the discussion is just beginning.
I think so, yes.
Thank you, Sasha.
You're welcome.
Let's break now for our first look at the weather outside. We're joined tonight by CTV's Arms Boomenlag.
Always a pleasure, Jim, and we certainly hope that you caught some of our coverage on our sister radio station last night on AM 800 as we fielded calls from you in our viewing and listening audience. Let's talk about the fact that we are under a severe thunderstorm watch in Windsor, Essex, but it's still really hot. 27 in Windsor, humidex readings in the lower 30s, 29 in Chatham, Kent. Now, we've got a cold front that's going to slice through tonight with ongoing convection to keep the mention of strong storms possible well into the evening. Now, the main threat continues to be strong, damaging wind gusts and torrential rainfall, along with the possibility of a brief weak tornado being possible in some of these storms that may pop up. Won't be out of the question to see some low-level rotation on radar, low top cell with no thunder over the next couple of hours before things start to clear out and high pressure becomes our weather story tomorrow. It's going to be a gorgeous Friday, though. We've got a bit of a cool down to talk about. 18, 64 Fahrenheit sunny, 23 around the noon hour, 73 Fahrenheit, going to feel more like 29 and feeling more like 32 by the drive home. When I come back, we'll talk about your Cornfest forecast this weekend. We've got some quiet weather on the horizon and your next chance at seeing some thunderstorms and showers this weekend. We'll do that next time I check in here on CTV Weather. Jim?
Good to be with you, Arms. Thank you. Now to some of the other news of the day. There could be a stoppage in mail delivery as soon as Monday. The Canadian Union of Postal Workers canceled an update on talks this morning, and it has until midnight tonight to serve a 72-hour strike notice. The union and Canada Post have been intensively talking over wages and pensions for months. An interim deal has kept the mail moving, but is set to expire. Last night, the Minister of Employment proposed that Canada Post and the union employ a special mediator to help in the talks. Some of the other news of the day, for example, parking in Windsor may soon get a bit easier. The city is seeking approval from council to pass an alternate parking option. The new system would allow people to use pay-by-phone apps at city-owned lots and parking meters. These apps are becoming increasingly popular, as you know. Some cities, such as Detroit and Toronto, are already making use of them. If council approves the recommendation, the service could be introduced perhaps as early as next year.
It's set up for the user pay. So when you attend either a lot or a meter, you go on your phone and you pay and you put in the location that you're parked at. You input that directly, and then it records that you paid for parking for a certain amount of time at that location.
A city committee is recommending a report go before council for a funding move to improve the central box infrastructure for cyclists. $6.8 million earmarked for bicycle lanes on Cabana may now go towards Central Box enhancements. The Central Box as it's known. This includes Howard and Remington Avenues and the so-called Dougal Death Trap near the CN overpass you're looking at here. Councillor Fred Francis believes safety improvements on Dougal are long overdue. Mr. Francis notes initial estimates for the project were over $5 million, but that close to $7 million could go a long way to make things better.
This has been an issue that's been around longer than I've been on council. I think we're talking about going back decades and decades. So anytime I see a potential solution to a challenge, we got to jump on that and see if we can do it or not. And I'm pretty excited to see if we can.
Well, another summer has very nearly come and gone. 1 week left of precious summer vacation before the children start returning to the classroom. Are families ready for September? And who's looking forward to it more, the parents or the kids? Well, maybe both. One person who wouldn't have to worry about prepping for back to school, I understand, is you.
That's right, not anymore, Jim. Good evening. I can remember being a kid and wishing the summer would last forever. Unfortunately, that's not the case. As for the lazy, hazy days of summer coming to an end, it's a sign most parents are meaning they're going to have to open their wallets for back to school shopping.
Oh, back to school, back to school, back to school.
I love school. It's the best.
As a parent, are you ready for the kids to go back to school?
Oh, I'm ready.
With the new school year right around the corner, some families are getting back into a routine.
Putting to bed earlier,
Yeah.
reading more books as you get closer, doing math work.
Well, the kids have been going to bed a little bit earlier, and we're doing back to school shopping.
According to a recent survey by ebates.ca, the average Canadian consumer will spend from $100 to $200 per child for back to school shopping.
We just got a bunch of learning books today. We got our backpack, Ninja Turtles.
The stores the last couple of weeks have really noticed the difference.
Karen Neforis is the marketing director at Devonshire Mall and says back to school shopping has become a family event, and the mall is a one-stop shop.
We've got a lot of shoe stores, a lot of sporting stores, a lot of clothing stores. Chapters is a great resource. Electronic stores.
Parents are looking forward to the new school year.
Gives us the parents, a little time to relax a little bit. It's their first year, so there's a lot of excitement there too.
Neforis says Devonshire gets busier as the first day of school approaches, up to and even on Labor Day.
And then, of course, into September. A lot of people do wait, they get a school list, and then they come back and purchase what they need.
Just like the parents, the children are excited for the new school year.
It's my last year, and I'm done high school, and then I get to go to college, which I guess will be fun.
I haven't had much to do for the past little bit, so I have something to do. I'm excited to go back to school because I'm going in my sister's grade 1 yard, and I'm excited. It's the best yard in the school.
Now, according to the eBates survey, for some families, this time of year is an expensive one. Second to only Christmas shopping. Jim, those kids were a lot more excited than I was when I had to go back to school.
Angelo, I like the TV commercial where the mother says to the clerk, "This is his last backpack." And the clerk says, "No, it's not."
You know you're coming back next year to get a new backpack. We all did.
Angelo, thank you.
You're welcome.
Crossbow attack ahead at 6 on your news leader. 3 people dead after being shot by a crossbow. Popcorn, anyone? Why this giant box of popcorn is sitting in a field near Tilbury.
The Colorado Avalanche have their new head coach, but it's not our guy. I'm Bob Belichico. Coming up in sports, I'll tell you who got the gig. Stay tuned.
As we deal with the aftermath of twin tornadoes, there is death and widespread destruction following the earthquake in central Italy. Now, Ottawa is not revealing for the moment the identity of a Canadian whose life was lost. We do know 250 people are dead, 360 injured. CTV's Paul Workman reports the rescue and recovery efforts unfold.
At the end of a long, desperate search, the joy of survival. A 10-year-old girl named Julia, trapped inside her family home, is pulled from the rubble, alive, when so many others in her mountain village perished in their beds. It was a rare moment to cheer about as the hours pass here and hope fades. We have pointers to where there might be missing people, he says. Our crews have never stopped focusing on the possibility of finding somebody alive. Rescue teams have found more than 250 survivors, some taken away on stretchers, others airlifted out. But this is fast becoming a recovery operation, digging for bodies with painstaking care, listening for sounds of life but hearing few. I can only remember that I couldn't breathe, says this man. I was gasping and I thought I was dead. The scope of the devastation becomes obvious in this drone video. A clear line between the new part of Amatrice, still largely intact, and the old city where 3/4 is flattened. Many of the homeless spent the night in a sports center, some returning to their destroyed houses in a search for belongings. Last night we slept in the car. Tonight I don't know, he says, afraid to go back to his house. There have been upwards of 500 aftershocks since the quake hit. One today that was strong enough to bring down damaged buildings and send people scrambling for open ground. Some experts estimate that upwards of 70% of Italy's buildings do not meet anti-earthquake standards. That in a country that has suffered 8 devastating earthquakes in the last 40 years. Paul Workman, CTV News, Amatrice in central Italy.
Thank you, Paul. Back home again, 3 people are dead after being shot by a person armed with a crossbow in Toronto's East End. The incident happened this afternoon in Scarborough. A police source telling CTV News 2 victims were hit by a crossbow quiver in the back garage of a house, and a 3rd body was found in a nearby driveway. Yet another male was transported to hospital for treatment of injuries. Police do have a person in custody. Law and Order Department in Windsor, 9 newly hired police officers have been introduced. The policemen were welcomed at a Windsor Police Services Board meeting. They are not exactly new to the force or the idea of policing. Chief Al Frederick says after a number of retirements announced very quickly, the organization decided to hire experienced officers rather than typically training new cadets. These 9 are from across southwestern Ontario and come to us with anywhere between 4 and 15 years experience. Chief Frederick says the hiring of experienced officers adds value immediately to the Windsor Police Service.
The experience they have, the number of years, they all have different areas of expertise within their own police services. So some of them are breath technicians, some of them are fraud investigators, sexual assault investigators. So there's a huge cost to training officers to that level, which was, of course, incurred by the agencies that they came from.
Chief Al Frederick. The Trudeau government is holding a brainstorming session. Close to 180 Liberal members of Parliament are currently meeting in Saguenay, Quebec, near Quebec City, laying out fall priorities. Prime Minister Trudeau had this to say in advance of the talks.
The Liberal Party is learning and growing right across the country, bring people from every corner of the country here to Saguenay to understand just how wonderful it is. Also, an opportunity to prepare the fall session. We've got a lot of work to do all together. Committees will be very, very busy, and I'm looking forward to hearing how all the various town halls and citizen engagements that our MPs were involved in across the country.
Scalpel-free surgery coming up on Windsor's News Leader. A new procedure to treat essential tremor is being called a game changer. And where's the beef? How the cattle farming industry is changing in Ontario.
We've got calmer weather ahead as we sail into the weekend. Take a look at tonight's weather snapshot. With all the severe weather over the last 24 hours, we could use this. This is Belle River Marina from Jody, and we are still under the threat of some severe weather tonight, but we will calm down for the weekend and lots of sun. Your local forecast up next.
Tomorrow at 6. Beer drinkers beware. It's a summertime nuisance you can't escape. Why drinking beer could make you more appealing to mosquitoes. Watch CTV News tomorrow at 6.
Arms, it's understandable after what we came through. I think it's understandable many viewers cast an eye occasionally skyward today.
Yeah, eyes to the sky. We're not out of the woods yet. We could still see some severe and active weather over the next couple of hours, folks. We certainly hope that you're doing okay post-tornadoes here in Windsor, Essex, but severe thunderstorms are a possibility this evening for a few more hours before we start to clear out. I got a great forecast for the weekend, so let's take a look at it here on CTV. And by the numbers today, hot, humid, muggy, sticky. 30 was our daytime high, 86 Fahrenheit. Humidex readings in the upper 30s. We should be at 25 for this time of year. Sunset this evening at 8:18. So again, eyes to the sky this afternoon, well into the evening with the approaching of this cold front. Now, we had a thunderstorm watch issued earlier this afternoon for Windsor to Chatham, which means conditions are favorable for the development of severe and active weather, strong winds, heavy rain, and remember, severe thunderstorms can produce tornadoes. This cold front slides through this evening. We could even see some hail before this all clears out after midnight. Overnight, thunderstorms will be a possibility along Lake Erie this evening. Those should clear out, but will drop down to the upper teens in Windsor at 64 Fahrenheit, so a bit of relief from that deep heat. Now, this cold front tied to a low moving through northern Quebec this evening. The main threat continues to be strong damaging wind gusts, torrential rainfall, along with the possibility of a brief, weak tornado possible in some of those cells. Now, that won't be out of the question to see that low-level rotation on radar in a low-top cell with no thunder over the next couple of hours. So, again, there's a window of some instability for 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock this evening before things start to clear out. And you can see on our national temperature map some relief in the prairies at 22, in Saskatchewan, Calgary at 16, 61 Fahrenheit, Thunder Bay 25, 77 Fahrenheit, and again that deep heat situated to our south in Cleveland at 33. Your weekend forecast looks pretty good. Tomorrow, bit of a break from that humidity, but still Humidex readings coming in at 34, 28, 82 Fahrenheit. Saturday looks phenomenal for the Cornfest Parade, 30, 86 Fahrenheit, and we do have some instability to talk about during peak daytime heating on Sunday. Could see a thunderstorm pop up, a 40% chance of seeing some showers and a high of 31. Into next week, some nice weather and quiet weather too as high pressure builds in, 29 by Tuesday.
In our ever-changeable summer of 2016.
You got it.
Okay, we'll check back. Thank you, Arms.
You're welcome.
Bob, everything happens for a reason. Here's one gentleman who was not making the move.
Well, you know, it's unfortunate too. We were all looking forward to seeing Bob Boughner get the job in Colorado, but apparently he's not the guy. So former Spitz head coach Bob Boughner is staying put in San Jose as an assistant this NHL season. He was shortlisted by Joe Sakic and the Colorado Avalanche for the head coaching job, but he was not the successful candidate today. Jared Bednar gets the gig and will be Patrick Waugh's successor. It was reported that Boughner and Gord Dineen were the two candidates likely to be given the job. The Avs didn't overlook Bednar, who led former Spitz captain Kirby Reichel and the Lake Erie Monsters to the Calder Cup Championship this past spring. Now, Major League Baseball today, the Tigers in Minnesota, they beat the Twins 9-4 last night, and we're looking for the sweep against the Twins today. I think we have the video. Do we have the video today? Yes, we do. Let's pick it up. Top two, Tigers up 1-0 when Ian Kinsler rips a double to left center. That scores a pair to make it 3-0. In the third, it's James McCann. Goodbye, Charlie. Boom, that one's out of here. It's the top of the wall in center field. That's a 3-run dinger. Tigers in full command, 6-0. Victor Martinez in the sixth. He doubles and makes it 8-0. Minnesota made it interesting in the late innings, but lost 8-5. Detroit sweeps and trails Baltimore by 2.5 games for the final wild card spot. Now, rubber match tonight between the Jays and the Angels. J.A. Happ gets the start for Toronto. The Tecumseh Thunders are in New Brunswick looking to repeat as national champs. Beautiful morning out east today. Tecumseh played their first game this morning against Newfoundland. Now, this is my social media pick of the day. That's Casey Power on the left. He jacked one out of the park today as Tecumseh beat Newfoundland 5-4. On his right, is Joel Pierce. The Massey grad pitched a complete game facing 25 batters. That's 4 over the limit. He gave up 5 hits and struck out 7. Great outing by him. Tecumseh have 2 games tomorrow. First up is an early matchup against Manitoba. Then it's a mid-afternoon tilt against Alberta. Now, we'll find out tomorrow who gets the start at quarterback against Western on Sunday in London. Will it be Casey Wright or Jalen Brady? Stay tuned for that one. Hopefully, it's not the same result, though, as a year ago when Windsor got pounded by the Mustangs at Alumni Field. Joe D'Amour's team has a strong ground game heading into the opener. Terrence Crawford is the feature back after spending a month in Dallas this past summer. The fifth-year senior looks ready, and he's even added a few moves. Look at him juke right there. Now, Nick Vincent is a short yardage machine. Marvin Gaynor put up 30 yards on 5 carries last week against Waterloo. The one that caught my eye, sophomore Marcus Kentner. He scored a touchdown and looks ready to contribute more this fall.
You know, we have some plays that are made for me and some plays that are made for him, and it really stops the team from putting a point on us because they can't really tell. We switch it up with the backs and switch it up with the line. So if we have multiple flows and, whoa, be on the face, multiple different flows to our offense, it it makes it really hard for a defense to cap on that.
I think if something happens, we got to lean on any one of those four. We're going to be in good shape. But we do have a pecking order, and Terrence is on the top, and he's going to be the guy that we're going to ride. And when he needs a break, the other two guys and three guys are going to come in.
We're all different kind of backs. You got speed back, power back, down and distance back. So I mean, it's going to be fun rotating us and just staying healthy and staying energetic and just getting after it.
They will be fun to watch for sure. Now, this was fun to watch. Former Spitz Taylor Hall was in Toronto yesterday and hung out with the Jays for a little BP. He actually cranked one out of the park. Take a look. Ooh.
Yep. Get out of here. Yep. Yep.
Ah!